Konda Magazine presenta.
Konda Houston, for more than 30 years, Konda Magazine has been telling the stories of Houston's Latino community, highlighting the culture and the efforts of our community. And today is no exception. We're honored to have with us somebody who's fighting for us all the way in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. House of Representatives. We're honored to welcome U.S. House of Representatives Sylvia Garcia, Congresswoman. You're historic, and it's an honor to have you here. And I know you represent the Texas 29th Congressional District. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always good to sit down and have a nice chat with another Latina.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I just want to ask you before we get into the serious discussions, what does it mean for you to be here and represent your community, in the city, county, Texas, and now Congress level? What does it mean for you?
Well, for me, it's just the honor of my life to be able to represent Houston, parts of Houston throughout the years and the Houston region. We're such a diverse city. We're such a welcoming city. We're truly, we're as good a farm kid that grew up poor in South Texas come to with just what she owned in a Volkswagen, and now be here, as a member of Congress and having, earned her law degree here, and all my career has been here. So for me, it's just the honor of my life, and I thank Houston for being the great city that it is, and being welcoming and inviting and providing the resources and things that I needed to succeed.
Thank you. It's an honor to have a representative like you fighting for our basic needs. And I know one of those is housing. It's so important for people to live somewhere affordable. And how have you seen that the lack of affordable housing has affected especially people in your district, especially our working families and seniors?
Well, I think it's hit working families the most. In our community, we like to say "mi casa, su casa." There was always been a sense of pride of owning a home. It's how we grow our wealth. It's something we can give to our children. And there was, my house is my house, and you're always welcome. It's our tradition. But unfortunately, there's so many barriers now. Housing costs are up. It's hard to get a loan or to get the dollars you need for that down payment the first time you buy a house. And frankly, with the tariffs that have increased the price of lumber and nails, and the labor shortage due to deportations and the fear of deportation, plus just the total just lack of housing has compounded the problem. So we're working hard to work with small groups, and I know this last week we got an announcement that we were able to get some dollars for one of our housing groups in the near north side that will help that. I visited this week with a group again in the Aldine area that had used some of our the dollars that we sent the county during the pandemic. They used it to build affordable housing. But what happens is they built it and it sells out within the week.
Yeah.
And she told me they have a waiting list of 2 years to get into this complex. And I hear that story with every single one. There just isn't enough housing, but it has to be affordable, not only that you can buy, but also that you can rent. Okay, so it's both. And it's really important, again, to have a roof over your head. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it becomes more difficult. So we need housing assistance. We need housing vouchers. We need first-time home buyers assistance, and all of those are things that I have fought for in Congress.
Amazing. Anything else you want to highlight more about those steps you're taking to lower those costs?
Well, we do have I did pass a bill out of committee. I serve on Financial Services Committee, which is the committee that has oversight of all the banks, the credit unions, anything having to do with finances, and it includes housing. So I'm on the subcommittee of housing and insurance, and I was able to pass a bill that would have us take a look at what is going on in housing, in construction, and building and permitting that's becoming to be barriers to building and construction. And all this, of course, is to provide more affordable housing, quality housing, because that's a key too. You just don't want to go out there and build something. You got to make sure that it's something that's going to last in Houston, to make sure it's resilient, because we have so many, we're so flood and storm prone. We got to make sure now that the roofs just don't have black roofs that we make them, white or silver because of the heat. So you got to look at a lot of things. So the study would give us some ideas of the barriers to access to housing, but also recommendations on what we can do at the federal level and more importantly at the local level. Because remember, we bring in the dollars, but then we give them to the county, or we give them to the city or to nonprofits to build the housing, and then sometimes they come into problems with permits or finding the right contractor or other issues. So it's all of us have to work together to make sure we get it done.
Amazing. And I know you have a lot of partnerships. I mean, given your time in public service. So
Well, and we've got some really good nonprofits that are working in the housing area. The city, the mayor and the city's housing department and the housing authority. The county and Judge Hidalgo have some good programs and a lot of nonprofits. So it's all of us working together because none of us can do it all.
Yeah.
None of us have all the money, but if we pool our resources, that's when it really counts.
Yes, ma'am. And another basic need is healthcare and making it affordable. And
Healthcare. I can
Yes.
talk all day about that one. It's just a tragedy that we had to force a vote. Force a vote. It's called a discharge petition, but it's a fancy word for just forcing a vote in the House to protect the Obama tax subsidies that where it was helping people afford insurance. Just in my district, it impacted 111,000 people. So you multiply that by 453, that's millions and millions of people that could potentially lose their insurance. So that was a big vote for us because there's nothing more important than making sure that we have access to good quality health care. Again, it's not just health care, just like in housing. It's not just health care, it has to be good quality care. So we put a lot of time and effort in trying to secure funding for our federally qualified health clinics, especially Centro de Corazon and Legacy, which are in our area, and making sure that we have enough clinics because, Houston's just big.
Yeah.
We're just big. Yes, it's true you have a clinic here, or you can go to Bentov, or you can go to LBJ, but if you live in the north side, both of those may be too far. And then if we don't have a bus system that goes to every neighborhood, then you can't get there. So when you multiply, not having the dollars to get there, not having the transportation, and then you got to go and navigate the system. I mean, last time I went to the doctor, the parking cost you,
Yeah.
$10 to $20. Then you get there and you got to remember the difference between the blue elevators and the yellow elevators or no elevators. So
Exactly.
just the cost of just getting there is sometimes a barrier. So we work real hard with all our clinics and the FQACs in our area to make sure that we give them the support and the dollars that they need. And that will always, always be a priority for us.
Amazing. Thank you for shedding a light into that. And I know currently, given, Konda Magazine thrives because of our Hispanic community, the immigrant community. Unfortunately, this has been we hear a lot of people expressing fear of the political
Very troubling
tension.
times.
Yes, and
Todos andamos con miedo.
yes.
And that is true, beginning to be true, not just in the immigrant communities, but everywhere.
Yes.
And it has taken the two deaths of two citizens to really, really shine a light on the violence and the cruelty and the extreme force that ICE is using in the enforcement area. And it's something that, of course, we're very concerned about. I certainly think that Christine Noem, who is the head of that department of Homeland Security, should resign, should be fired, or we should just impeach her. She's not a leader by example. She is seems to be focused on cruelty and just do whatever it takes rather than just the enforcement that is intended. Because if you look at immigration law, it's not even criminal law, but they insist on calling everybody criminals. And then she always says we're getting the worst of the worst. But then we look at the data, And over half of the people that they've apprehended, some of them have work permits. Some of them have never committed a crime, not even a traffic ticket. So they're not after the worst of the worst. They're just doing whatever it takes to get anybody, quite frankly, that looks brown, speaks differently, and looks differently.
How have you seen these anti-immigration policies affect people in your district?
Oh, pues tienen miedo. I mean,
Sí.
there are just so many people. I had a visit with some restaurants that were telling me that it's not just not having cooks, it's not even having customers
Wow.
because people
Yeah.
aren't getting out. People aren't. I've heard a story of a you know, sort of a older woman who is just so scared that she won't even get out to go to the doctor. She won't even go out to get groceries. That someone gets the groceries and brings them to her.
Wow.
You know, that's really scary. We're seeing that it's impacting the schools in terms of attendance. And we're seeing that people are just afraid because, yes, we know it's happening. First, remember, in Los Angeles, and then they went to Chicago. Then they went to Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
You know, what's to say they're not coming to Houston?
Yeah.
I don't know that they are. All I know is that he's going after democratic cities. We're a democratic city,
Yeah.
so we can't. We have to be prepared in our to know what we're going to do if this happens. I had a press conference this morning with faith leaders from across the city, all faiths, all beliefs, and the one thing was clear: we're united. We're united when it comes to saying that we're all God's children, that we all have dignity and respect, and that we're all going to stand together against ICE and any violence or anything that would come to us here in Houston or anywhere, because it's just not only unconstitutional and against our laws, it's just morally wrong. It's just wrong to treat people that way.
Yes, and I know in response to this, you're leading a new bill, the Restoring Community Trust Act. Tell us about that. How do you see that protecting immigrant communities here?
Well, what's happening now, and it's happening in our city, and then I've already heard from people in Austin and San Antonio and all our cities, especially the big urban cities. What the Trump administration did was they took the information they have in ICE on removals and detainers, and those are administrative, meaning that they're not from a court like we see at the courthouse. It's not from a federal court. It's not from a state court. It's just their own paperwork. So they're not arrest warrants. They put them in the computer system. All that data, they put it in the computer system that the police officers use to figure out if someone has a warrant for arrest. But that's like a real criminal warrant for arrest if you've committed a crime. Because they have that, because when they apprehend someone, let's say it's me, they put in Sylvia Garcia, and if it goes ding, 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 well, that means I probably have an outstanding warrant for, I don't know, a hot check or a burglary, a DWI. Well, then they know that they need to apprehend me and detain me. But that's the way it's supposed to work. It's controlled by the data centers maintained by the FBI. Well, they put all of these detainers and removals in there, and now they're telling the cities, if you don't detain that person, if you see that they have a warrant from us, they call them warrants again, but they're not really warrants. You need to hold them, call ICE, and then we can come pick them up. So, as the police chief explained to me, the system works in a matter of where the police officer checks, they see that I have a detainer. They call the major hotline, and the hotline sends a picture. They look at me, and they see me and not you. They'll say, oh, yeah, well, that's Sylvia Garcia. They'll detain them, and they'll call ICE, and then ICE is supposed to come pick them up. But if ICE doesn't come in 30 minutes, HPD lets them go. Okay? And that ordinarily happens in a traffic stop, because that usually happens at a traffic stop. So theoretically, it doesn't really happen in other cases unless the officer does go and check the computer, because that's when it pops up. Reality is that they don't have to do it, in my mind, and I've been in this area for a long time. The jail has ICE in the jail, and that's when they usually would check. When they actually book someone, they've arrested someone for a crime. You don't need to do it at a traffic stop. So to me, it's redundant. It's not necessary. But the bill would say, federal government, you can't do that anymore. You can't threaten cities and tell them that you'll keep their money, federal dollars, if they don't do this with ICE. So it puts management of the public safety back to local control. It would give police departments everywhere and sheriff's departments the ability for them to decide what their priorities are in their neighborhood, and that it wouldn't let it doesn't stop them from cooperating with ICE if they want to voluntarily. It would just say, we would just take out the language that says you cannot force cities to do this. You cannot make police officers ICE officers. So that's what my bill would do.
Well, as a journalist, I can tell you, going to Houston City Council, that is a big concern. And for Houstonians, that's what they voiced, like just recently, yesterday.
Well, they did, and the same thing is happening in Austin. There was been a couple of uproars there, and in San Antonio, because we in Congress we all talk, and I'm hopeful. We've gotten a lot of sponsors already. I'm hopeful that we can at least get a hearing so that we can talk about this, because that would really resolve a lot of issues. If a city wants to cooperate with ICE, that's up to them, but they should not be forced to.
Yes.
And they should not be threatened with losing federal dollars that they need for better policing. And that's the hiccup. You're telling me you have to do this because we need your help, but then they'll lose the dollars that go to help pay for police overtime and for the programs of training and equipment for police. It makes no sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're working on that. I'm really happy to have filed it, and we are going to follow it through, see what happens.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing light into that, because here in Houston and and elsewhere, it's a very big concern.
That as the Democrats caucus, I just was on a call last night with our caucus met by Zoom. We're focused on making sure that ICE changes before we agree to give them one more penny. Things like they have to remove their masks. There's no reason to wear those masks. They have to wear an ID and a badge identifying themselves. They should wear body cams, just like police officers. They should have a code of conduct and a standard of professionalism, just like police officers. They should have training, just like police officers. If they want to call themselves a police force, which they were never meant to be, well, then go through with what every other police officer goes to. And of course, the big one for us is that they really need to be held accountable. If they commit a crime like murdering someone, then they should be prosecuted under state law or federal law if it's a civil rights violation, and be held accountable just like everybody else. We've done that with police officers. You've seen it. If police officers accused of some misconduct, they immediately suspend them till there's a full investigation. I mean, we've all seen that.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do with ICE officers. We cannot let ICE investigate itself.
No.
That's like the fox guarding the hen house. We have to have a full, complete, independent, transparent investigation of good and pretty. We can't let ICE review that. It has to be independent. It has to be someone who's going to have a fresh look at everything, because we already know that ICE is telling us that he was brandishing a gun. We all saw the video. We never saw him brandishing a gun. ISIS has already said that he was there to terrorize and assassinate, some of the officers. He never said that. I mean, it's like, they want us to believe something that we can't even see with our own eyes, because we can see the videos. So we need a full, independent, and transparent investigation with real teeth.
Amazing. Thank you, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, for leading that, for championing those. Because here, like I've mentioned, it's something that a lot of people voice and bring into city, like those concerns of independent investigations. So thank you so much for shedding light.
Well, unless we have an independent investigation, then people will just lose more trust. And that's also like part of the reason I filed the bill that I did, is that we've got to make sure that the community trusts the police, that they trust ICE. Right now, I don't know anybody that trusts ICE.
Yeah, especially here in our area, there's been cases where a traffic stop leads to nice arrest. So
Yeah,
so
we
thank you
can't
for
make a
talking.
traffic stop a deportation trap.
Yeah,
We just can't. We got to put a stop to it and put a stop to it now.
thank you, and I know you're a champion on that. And you've been in the past. I know
Hmm.
you were the first Latina to be, appointed as an impeachment manager. And
Yes, and when we talk about impeachment, I know a bit or two about that.
yeah,
So I would start with trying to rid of Nome, and then Bovino, who is the head of Customs and Border Patrol.
hmm
I mean, every time I saw him, marching with all his paramilitary gear, but he marches, but not by himself, but with 10 other men around him in paramilitary and camouflage. It's like, it can't just be her. We have to get at the root of the problem. We have to get rid of that culture.
yeah,
So it's the infrastructure. It's all of it. It can't be just one or two things, because otherwise, you change the top, and then everything else stays. It's like getting rid of Maduro. Well, fine, you got rid of Maduro, but ahí está toda su gente. So did you really get rid of the problem? We have to do the same thing with ICE. Not only the top, we got to make changes from top to bottom.
exactly. And how have these experiences shaped the way that you lead these efforts, against Trump's policies?
Well, it's been difficult. I have to be honest with you, because we're in the minority. That means that, the White House, the House, the Senate, and even the Supreme Court, it's all led and controlled by the Republican Party, and I'm a Democrat. And for me as a Democrat, I'm a fighter, and I work. My work is to help poor people, working class people, people who need help to get just a fair shot at getting an American dream. And the only way you can do that is by lowering costs, providing health care, making sure the economy works for everybody. People are tired of just living paycheck to paycheck. People just want a good life. We all don't have to be rich. We just have to have a decent life. And that's all people expect. But this administration seems to be hell-bent on doing whatever they can to help their billionaire buddies and giving them the tax breaks and making us pay for it. Giving their billionaires buddies more access to the White House and more access to contracts while we pay for it. So for me, it's about helping people and giving back.
Yeah, and you mentioned fairness,
Hmm.
and I know last year there was a lot of efforts of redistricting, and I want to ask you, what do you want or your constituents to know about these changes? How has your district changed, and also what do you want them to know about the issues? Because there was even rulings that highlighted racial gerrymandering with the GOP-led redistricting. So tell us, what do you have to say about
Well,
this?
from the very beginning, that when the Justice Department, directed by Trump, I mean, Trump just wanted 5 more seats, Republican seats, because he knows that they're going to lose some seats in other states. So he wanted more from Texas to balance it off, okay? Because he wants to make sure he controls the power. And the only way he can do that is if the House of Representatives is still under Republican control, because he knows if the Democrats win and we get Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker, then we can block his nonsense.
Mm,
Okay? So he wants to make sure he has enough votes to control the Speaker, because we elect the Speaker. So he targeted 5 seats, and I was one of the targets. District 29, all the majorities districts in Houston were targeted. My district, 18, Al Green's district, and then no, that Sylvester Turner's district, or Sheila Jackson Lee's district, and then 9, which is Al Green's, and then in the Dallas Fort Worth area, he targeted Mark Vesey, and I think Jasmine Crockett's area. So again, they targeted the minorities, and they tried to say that we couldn't have coalition districts, and that everything was based on race. But what they ended up doing was totally dismantling and destroying the minority districts. Like my district got cut up in 4 pieces.
wow.
Even the north side is not all together in my district anymore. I just got just a little bit, and then it goes to 3 other districts. So they didn't keep communities together. They didn't keep neighborhoods together. They didn't even look at any boundary other than how do we get another Republican seat. So they essentially took almost all the traditional Latino neighborhoods in the East End, Magnolia, Denver Harbor, everything in and around the Ship Channel got sliced out of my area. And that goes now into a new 9 that's tied with Liberty County. And that now that area, because you added Liberty County, it changes the voting background of people. Uh, they hoped that will be a Republican district. And then Al Green, they put him together with 18. So now he's going to have to run not in his own area, but against whoever wins the special election this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, so they completely reshuffled everything. So I tell you, it's heartbreaking. I went to an event in the East End a couple of months ago, and I told a senior who gave me, big, ay, congresista, ¿cómo estás? And she says, ay, mi, siempre yo voto por usted. So then I had to say, mire, pero este año que viene no va a poder votar por mí. ¿Y por qué? And I said, cambiaron las mapas. And literally, she had tears.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. She told me, she says, ¿y quién nos va a representar? ¿Quién nos va a visitar? Because, I visit them all the time. I said, well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's comments that we get about people's political power just diluting, and I'm sorry that
they just feel like now they won't have a voice, because when you look at the numbers, there's 2 million Latinos in Harris County. Okay, that's more than the Rio Grande Valley. This one is San Antonio. But if in my election, if I don't win, then we won't have a Latino in Houston, Harris County, which means those 2 million Latinos, theoretically will have no voice.
Wow.
It doesn't mean that we're not going to, if I were to lose it, I'm not going to go to Al Green or whoever wins that seat to say, hey, don't forget us, or to Leslie Fletcher, hey, don't forget us. But it's different. It's the language, it's the culture, it's everything. We deserve a voice.
Yes, we do. And Congresswoman, I know time is cutting short. I just want you to wrap it up, and with how you brought projects and federal dollars back to your communities. If you can talk a little bit briefly about that to close out.
Well, we work a lot together with the other members of Congress, and sometimes too with Republicans in the Houston area district, to bring back projects for the port and for the deepening and widening projects. We worked on getting buses, funding for more buses for Metro. We worked on getting more dollars for flood control, to work on the flooding and bayous and mitigation systems. But we also work on what we call community projects, where it's not the $20 million grant, but the $1 million that they need to just, an expansion or a satellite clinic. For example, one FQHC really needed a door, one of those storm doors that automatically opens and keeps rain from coming in, because they were finding that after every flooding, the water up front would just really, really just accumulate, and then would end up coming into their area. So it would just cost them so much to have to go in there and replace tiles and do electric. So we got them the dollars for a nice, new, improved, storm door that literally just shuts out the water and it can't come in.
Amazing.
But that was something they really had not been able to fundraise for, because it was not the capital. Whatever, all those reasons. And they were just so happy. And we've been able to get dollars for some of our smaller communities, like Jacinto City and Galena Park, for their water systems. We've been able to get money for a couple, I think it was Jacinto City Fire Department, for them to do some of the upgrades that they needed. In Pasadena, we got money for them for a job training youth program to start getting our kids ready for jobs if they're not going to go to college. So it's all different things that we do, but smaller grants. And frankly, I kind of like going to those events to announce those, because it's things that those communities really, really, truly need. It's not the same feeling when you go to Metro and you just cut a ribbon.
Yeah.
It's just different. But we got dollars for changing the lanes and doing some changes for Telephone Road that they've been trying to get. We got dollars for a more overpasses where the trains are. We got money for two more of those. So hey, we work it when it comes to our district. We work hard to make sure that we get the dollars we need to keep our neighborhood safe, to provide access to health care, and to always protect Social Security and Medicare for our seniors. In our district, it's all about the seniors.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, for all your work. I want to ask you one last special message for our Konda Magazine audience.
Well, thank you so much for being here all this years. I was reminded of a cover that I've been on when I was first elected, I think, to being a member of Congress, which I guess that's now 7 years, and it just reminds me of all the good work that Gilda has done. And I think if they framed all their covers and put them on the wall, they wouldn't need to worry about painting or wallpaper because that's how long they've been here. And I can tell you that as long as I'm here, I will always be supportive of their efforts, as I know they're supportive of our community. And for me, it's always about service. It's always about giving back. It's always about taking care of people, and it's all people. My mother used to say, todos somos hijos de Dios. And I truly, truly believe that. And I will continue to work for everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what neighborhood and what your status is. You have a friend in Sylvia Garcia.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. It's
Thank
been
you.
an honor.
Thank you.
Bye and hasta luego.
¿Qué onda Magazine? Presentó